What is the biggest difference between sex in your 20s and sex in your 30s, 20s? It didn't really take a lot to get me going, just one, being in my bed, and two, being mostly nude was enough. 30s, I really need them to be into it, too. Like, if they act like they're only doing this to make me happy, I pick up on it and I just can't continue. I also need them to show some interest in me too, or it takes some monumental effort to be in the mood. I'm more particular, and more aware of what the other party is doing and how they're reacting, etc. I gained the confidence to ask for what I actually want, and say what feels good to me and what doesn't. Too many people just go with what they usually do in the sack, instead of talking about what each individual actually enjoys. Basically, I no longer settle for bad sex. Sex in 30s about a million times better. Still very horny but also experienced, skills, more willing to try things. The amount of time you have available. Oh man, it's so much better in my 30s than it's ever been. Multiple reasons, but primarily finding a partner, my perfect wife, who has helped break down my walls through conversation and experimenting together. I feel so much less guilt about sex now and I can actually enjoy it. Not sure if it was being raised with Catholic guilt or my first GF being just the wrong partner, but wow, did I ever feel awful about anything sexual before. Teens. Screwed like a nympho, but sex was mediocre. 20s. Screwed like a nympho, sex was a little better. 30s. Started figuring out what I wanted. Screwed a little less, but better quality. 40s. Best and most frequent sex yet. Hornier and more experimental now than ever before. Edited to add. Had kids in late 20s, early 30s. Kids consume so much time and energy. Kids are getting older now, so more time and energy for sex again. Honestly, sex in 40s has been the freakiest, wildest, most fulfilling yet. 30s, 20s equals 10 seconds. In my mid-30s, and not in the greatest shape, so sometimes I have trouble rising to the occasion. Luckily the wife is pretty understanding, and I still get her where she needs to go. Quantity versus quality. No difference to me. No sex versus no sex, man shrugging. Kids ruining it for you. Sex got better. I finally figured out what my wife likes. The long tedious trial and error process. I used to have sex in my 20s. Frequency. In my 20s I was single, 30s married. Married sex is best sex, especially once you both get comfortable enough to discuss what you do and don't like or want to try out. You guys are having sex knowing what I'm doing. Listen up younger guys, some basics. When she says, just like that, or, don't stop, it does not mean go faster, harder, or anything other than do exactly what you are doing. Do not change it. Now what's hard about that is when they say things like that. It's exciting, just stay focused. Also, learning to find her nerve clusters will take a bit of exploring, which is where hookup culture fails both parties. Then you have to figure out, does she like grinding those spots, stroking, or both, and what pressure and speed and motion pattern. And if you are unsure, just feel for a slightly rough patch on the top side, an inch or three, and roughly and do a come hither motion. Most importantly, communicate likes, dislikes. Things get a lot better. I'm having hit a lot less in my 30s. Sex in my 30s is why I better than sex in my 20s. Maybe because I'm super in love with my partner. Like, really being in hardcore love makes a difference in the bedroom. Experimentation versus experience. When you are with the same person, the sex will only get better during the years, and there's no end. It keeps getting better no matter how old you are. Once the children are adults and living with their own families and retirement gives you all the time in the world, there's also all the time in the world for undisturbed sexy times. No difference. I don't get laid either way. For women, there's a reason why it's called dirty 30s. Libido goes way up. For men, it's in their 20s. It's way better. I understood that sex is not just releasing my load. Sex in my 20s was fine. Sex in my 30s was fine. Sex in my 40s? Out of control amazing. I don't know if it's my confidence or hormones, but I'm the happiest and most fulfilled sexually I've ever been. I know what my boundaries are, and can say no when I'm not into it. My standards are a lot higher. I was having sex in my 20s, orgasms. Never had one with someone else until I found my current partner in my 30s. Life-changing. 20s, sex? Yeah. I'll have sex. 30s, sex? I'm okay, but it's already 8:30 p.m. and so if we start now and stop by 9:30 we should still get a full night's sleep. But also we could wait until Friday or Saturday night. That might be better because if we are up too late it won't really matter much the next day, but sure, yeah, let's do it. Fuck it, who cares? Wait, what was that? Oh, one of the kids is at the door. 20s. Got laid a lot. 30s. Don't get any action. No difference. Neither of them exist for me. I met my husband at 29 and now I'm almost 31. The sex is the best I've ever had. Not just because of that, I've grown more confident in asking what I want. If it hasn't happened by the time I'm 30, I'll probably become a supervillain. You're usually better at it in your 30s and care less about possible repercussions. Cardio starts to drop, so you bring in some sex toys to hide your out-of-shapeness. 20s and in love. You have sex. 30s and having kids. You don't have sex. The feeling in my knees and legs afterwards. How many times a day is one? But I'm better than I was in my 20s. It's less about the 10-year stretch itself and more about the split between the age groups. Late teens to early 20s is the same shit. Just want sex. Late 20s to early 30s is the same as well. Just want sex * with passion *. The thing is, I had diddly fuck for game when I was in my early 20s, but as I push 30, it seems like a lot of younger women in their early and mid-20s are down for me. Source: work at restaurant. Edit: I do admittedly go to the gym now and have my life substantially more together now than I did in my early 20s, so that probably, quite literally, has everything to do with it. More intensity, more kinks, more experience. It got freakier. The hobby. 20s. Happened in college and not so much after. 30s. I hope I meet someone and actually have sex. Face rolling on the floor laughing. In my 20s I had sex. 30s not so much, so that is the biggest difference. Well, I actually had sex in my 20s, so there's that. 20s. I could go 24/7. 30s. Pretty much the same, but in my 40s now and enjoy that shit while it lasts. I haven't got a boner in a few weeks. Sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. And don't be embarrassed about that ED shit. We got a solution these days. Yes sir, I will take the blue pill. You're better at it. In my 20s I could sleep around without a care in the world. Now that I'm in my 30s, my wife highly frowns upon it. At 20s, no experience and no active SWX life. At 30s, one-time experience and no active sex life. I guess it'll be as nerves moment as in my 20s, if I'll ever have sex again. How my back feels the next day. Stop putting up with the norm of rough sex being the only kind of sex. Forget that. I look for intimacy and connection now. Experience. You can be more confident in what you are doing. Less hang-ups. I wasn't having sex in my 20s and I am now lol. In 20s non-existent, in 30s hopeful. The roles flip. 20s men are the always horny ones, 30s it's the women. I mean, I'm not complaining, she makes it very obvious when she wants attention now, no more guessing lol. 20s you're more attractive. 30s everything else is better. Better sex from 10 years of experience. In your 30s you have to lock the bedroom door to keep the kids out. The biggest difference is that when I was 20, I was really horny and would have sex with legit anyone. But now that I'm almost 50, my penis doesn't stand up, so it's difficult to please women and men. In a rare occurrence, something you could refer to as a once a blue moon type of instance, my penis does stand up and I get really excited. Quality. not quantity. Sex in my 20s was hotter, but sex in my 30s has been better. More connection, less self-consciousness. In my 20s I wanted to be good at sex. In my 30s I wanted to have a good time. Quality versus quantity. Both people enjoy it now. The amount of sleep I am willing to miss out on for it to happen. The biggest possible difference between sex in your 20s and sex in your 30s is 19 years. Maths. 40 is even better, to be honest. The kids are less intrusive. I'm more comfortable with my body and more confident. I have more disposable income for fun extras like toys. I'm not afraid to ask for what I want. In your 20s it's not as tiring digging up or reburying the bodies. In your 30s it's a lot more tiring and hurts your back and hips. 20s was just straight the fucking, but now in my early 30s it's fucking and some loving. I've got something I haven't seen yet. 20s. As a dude, I'd sleep with almost woman, even if they were a horrible person or I hated their guts. 30. Anything considered a red flag or something I don't want to deal with causes me to go limp and I lose all interest. I had sex in my 20s, now I have it. They are both none. Quality versus quantity. Sex in your 20s is about having sex. Sex in your 30s is about having good sex. I wasn't having any in my 20s. Older guy jumping in here. Mine peaked in the 50s. It was better than I ever believed it could be. What about 60s, you say? Just turned 60, so give a fellow a chance. In my 20s, I fucked to satisfy myself. In my 30s I fucked to satisfy my partner. Getting any sex, the pump that inflates me. Oh, how I miss my 20s. Volume. Much more sex in my 30s. A lot better sex too. Practice makes for a strong tongue and a happy girlfriend. I used to just want sex. Now, if I don't love the person, the sex is worthless and I feel terrible afterwards. Experience. One existed and one does not. I know what I want and am not nervous to ask for it. If we're not on the same page, that's fine. It's all about communication. Sex in 20s whenever I want to. Sex in 30s whenever the kids are not awake or waking around. Total buzzkill when they're knocking on the door asking what's going on. Depends on the individual, I suppose. I am more experimental, read BDSM now, than I was when I was younger. I probably had a little less control over my excitement back then. ATM, I just need to think about my wife, or lie next to her and I'm 45, ready to go. For people with vaginas, the 30s have more orgasms. Sex is so much better in your 30s. You both know what you're doing and what you want. In my 30s, I had a ton of sex, all with the same person. In my 20s, I had no sex. Sex in my 30s happened a really long time ago. Sex in my 20s happened a really long time ago. Didn't actually come until I was in my 30s. Now I get the hype, the subreddit and its obsession with sex. That being said, 20s. I experimented a lot with different women. To me it was, how freaky can I get with this woman? I really just wanted to say I've done a lot of it. I just wanted to be as much of a freak as possible and fuck as much as I could. 30s. I enjoy the romance more and I love missionary because being able to make out and look into your partner's eyes is the hottest thing ever. I prefer to take my time, give a massage, and enjoy foreplay first. The more connected and romantic it is, the more enjoyable it is for me. There's just something incredibly sexy about the passion behind making love rather than just fucking. I want to have less sex as I grow up because I'm fed up with people. Sex in my 20s, I had it. Sex in my 30s, I didn't have it. Lube. I know for me, it means having lube handy, and a towel ready for afterwards. No more awkward shuffling to clean up after :